Coming in at number 10, we have the Cursed Workers' Tomb of Giza. A 4,500-year-old tomb has just been reopened near the Great Pyramid of Giza. The mass burial site in the Tribal Mountains was closed for nearly 30 years in order to protect it from thieves. The Giza Plateau tomb is thought to be cursed and contains the remains of high-profile workers. These basically weren't slaves, they were high profile and included the ancient royal palace supervisor Nefertiti. He is buried there with his 2 wives and his 18 children. He was busy. The tomb contains 2 fake doors, so clearly people weren't supposed to get in. Inscribed on the wall was the following curse warning: all people who enter this tomb who will make evil against this tomb and destroy it, may the crocodile be against them in the water and the snakes against them on the land. May the hippopotamus be against them in the water and the scorpions against them on the land. The tomb was reopened for the public recently in order to boost tourism in the area, but with that kind of warning, I'm not sure if I fancy a visit. Coming in at number 9, we have the Curse of Amenhotep. Curses aren't supposed to be funny, I get that, but I can't help but thinking that the Egyptians went a little overboard when inscribing the curse in the son of Hapo, Amenhotep's tomb. Let's have a little read, shall we? He who enters this tomb will lose their earthly possessions and honours, be incinerated in a furnace in excretion rites, capsize and drown at sea, have no successors, receive no tomb or funerary offerings of their own, and their bodies would decay because they will starve without sustenance, and their bones will perish. Cool! Basically, all of the bases are pretty much covered then. While his tomb was broken into, his sarcophagus hasn't actually been opened yet, as it has a very well preserved face mask. Probably best to keep it that way. Coming in at number 8, we have the Black Tomb of Osiris. Am I here for an eerie black tomb? No. No, I'm not. Am I here for an eerie black tomb belonging to the Egyptian god of the dead? Again, really, I'm gonna have to pass on opening that one up. In 2015, a 25th dynasty structure was unearthed near Luxor on the west bank of the River Nile. So Osiris was a mythological god of the dead, but it seems that the Egyptians made a tomb for him anyway. All ancient Egyptian burial chambers were associated with Osiris, as pharaohs and rich Egyptians wanted to be able to share the afterlife with him. If Osiris decorates normal tombs, who decorates his? Demons holding knives. That's who. Can't be good. The tomb was opened in 2015, a year still fraught with violent protests in the country. I don't know about you, but I think it could have been a bad idea to open the god of the dead's tomb. Just a hunch. Coming in at number 7, we have tombs with the donkey curse. You may not have learned this particularly gnarly piece of information at school when you were studying the ancient Egyptians, but a lot of 21st dynasty curses used to protect their wills, property and tombs in Egypt, and they were subject to a curse from the god Seth. Now, Seth was a god of storms, violence and deserts. He also happened to be a donkey. Anyway, curses involving Seth specifically said that he would rape those who entered the tombs. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to mess with a curse that promised a donkey would, well, you know. A donkey curse was famously found in the tomb of Der El Barry Graffito, but we don't know if it actually, you know, ever came to fruition, because who would admit to that? Coming into number 6, we have mummy soup. Very recently, in July 2018, a mystery tomb was opened in the Alexandria region. In it, archaeologists found a black granite sarcophagus dating back 2,000 years. As they began to lift the lid, a pungent smell stopped them in their tracks. Later, with masks and the Egyptian army in tow, the lid was lifted to reveal decomposed bodies. The family inside were buried, but their mummified remains had been exposed to the elements, and they were found as just bones in a pool of water. Water which presumably their bodies had dissolved in over time. Ugh. So far so good on the curse front, but these things seem to take a little time to manifest. Nonetheless, for me, the decomposed body water would have been enough to fill my nightmares forever. Did the mummy of Amun-Ra cause the Titanic to sink at number 5? A mysterious mummy thought to belong to the Princess of Amun-Ra was dug up in a vault in Luxor in the late 1800s, or so the story goes. 4 Englishmen were said to have drawn lots to buy the mummy in the 1890s, with one paying several £1,000s sterling to take the mummy. It seems that this man walked out into the desert later that day and never returned. Another of the men was shot, having to have his arm amputated. Another lost all his money, and another father suffered a severe illness. Nonetheless, the coffin eventually reached England, where it caused all kinds of drama. It was eventually gifted to the British Museum, where it was later put up for sale for further chaos. Basically, the British Museum didn't want any of it was bringing bad luck to the building. The legend has it that the mummy was sold to a wealthy American and packed into the cargo hold of the RMS Titanic, and well, you all know what happened there. A lot of people dismiss this as pure myth, as there was no evidence of a mummy in the cargo hold of the ship, but honestly, who knows? Coming into number 4, we have the Cosmic Void. The Heritage Innovation Preservation Project has been working with Cairo University and the Egyptian government to scan the Great Pyramids in Giza. In 2017, a pyramid housing the tomb of the great pharaoh Khufu showed a mysterious and spooky void when it was scanned. Built in 2560 BC, this weird void has been locked away and kept a secret for over 4,000 years. By scanning the pyramid with cosmic rays, the team behind the research estimate that the void is 98 feet long and 50 feet high, which is pretty big. What even is this void? Is it a black hole? Is it a curse? It seems to be just kind of nothingness, which in itself is pretty creepy to me. Some archaeologists are calling it an intentional design element, but what is it? It seems this void is completely sealed off from any known passageways inside the pyramid. There's no way to get at it, so how was it even built? So far, the Scan Pyramid team haven't ventured into the void yet, which honestly, I think is for the best. Who knows what kind of plague could be unearthed? Coming into number 3, we have the Catacombs curse at Tuna El Gebel. Home to the tomb of Osiris and Isidora, the Tuna El Gebel Acropolis was excavated by archaeologist Sami Gabra in the 1940s. Those who worked on the excavations in the area reported spells of dizziness, headaches, shortnesses of breath, and even in some cases seizures. At the time, the team thought that they had angered the ibis-headed god Thoth by disturbing the ancient curse. In reality, it was discovered that the tomb contained a lot of noxious gas, which probably explains the sickness. Either way, some would say they probably should have left the tomb well alone. Coming in at number 2, we have the two cursed mummies of Alexandria. In 1699, it was claimed by author Louis Penscher that a Polish man had purchased 2 mummies excavated from tombs in Alexandria. It seems the man wanted to study them for medicinal purposes, which actually was very common back in that era. Often people would resort to robbing graves so they could have bodies to study. Anyway, the mummies were taken on board a ship from Egypt to Poland on a voyage across the Mediterranean Sea. Unfortunately, removing the mummies from their tomb was a terrible idea. The man and his crew started to have violent and horrific nightmares, saying they were haunted by 2 ghosts. They soon realized the ghosts haunting them were the spirits of the mummies. They tossed them overboard, and as soon as the corpses were submerged in the sea, the visions stopped. Okay, finally, this was a mistake. A very big mistake. On February the 16th, 1923, the last chamber of King Tutankhamun's tomb was opened, and a whole can of cursed worms came out. This is all coming in to number 1. King Tut died when he was just a teenager in around 1400 BC. Fast forward 2,500 years, and archaeologist Howard Carter entered his sealed burial chamber and began the rumors of the Egyptian curse. The tomb was excavated and entered between November 1922 and February 1923. The tomb was, like almost all Egyptian tombs, inscribed with a curse, and this one seemed particularly potent. On the day Carter entered the tomb, a cobra got into his pet canary's cage with the bird dead in its mouth. Now, the cobra is the symbol of the Egyptian monarchy, and the symbolism wasn't lost on locals, who began to panic. Lord Carnarvon, the financial backer of the excavation project, died shortly after the tomb was first breached as a result of an infected mosquito bite. The bite possibly matched a healed lesion found on King Tut's cheek during his autopsy. Furthermore, 2 of Carnarvon's half-brothers died shortly after excavation. One of the doctors who worked on King Tut's body, radiologist Sir Archibald Douglas Reed, also died a year later, as did 2 other members of the excavation team, all within a few years of the tomb's opening.
There's something called the Osiris Shaft, which is located directly under the causeway between the Sphinx and the second pyramid. It goes about 100 feet underground. It's carved out of the limestone bedrock. It's the creepiest place I've ever been in my life.
Ready to unearth Egypt's deepest secrets, from hidden chambers inside Tutankhamun's tomb to the elusive labyrinth of Hawara, we're counting down the top 10 mysterious tombs that have never been opened. Legends speak of untold treasures, lost pharaohs, and ancient curses waiting to be discovered. Starting this list off today in our number 10 spot, we have the tomb of Herihor. Amidst the towering columns and sacred halls of the Karnak temple complex, the elusive tomb of Herihor continues to captivate historians. Herihor was no ordinary figure. Originally a high priest of the Amen, he boldly declared himself pharaoh during Egypt's tumultuous Third Intermediate Period. Yet, despite his audacious rise to power, little evidence of his burial site has ever been found. Some speculate that his tomb could be hidden within a secret chamber of Karnak itself, filled with treasures and inscriptions that chronicle a time of political intrigue and religious upheaval. Others wonder if his final resting place was deliberately concealed to protect his legacy from rivals. The discovery of Herihor's tomb could unlock a treasure trove of artifacts and scrolls, shedding light on a shadowy chapter of Egyptian history. As each new expedition delves into the ancient ruins, the possibility of unearthing this lost tomb adds a layer of excitement and mystery. Could the next turn of a dusty corridor finally reveal the secrets of the self-made pharaoh who dared to redefine his destiny? In our number 9 spot today, we have the lost labyrinth of Egypt at Hawara. Hidden beneath the sands near the Fayum oasis, the lost labyrinth of Egypt at Hawara remains one of the most tantalizing mysteries of the ancient world. Described by historians like Herodotus as a colossal underground complex with thousands of rooms and winding passages, it's said to have rivaled even the grandeur of the pyramids. While archaeologists have uncovered some remnants that hint at its existence, the labyrinth itself remains largely unexplored and unopened. Legends speak of vast halls adorned with hieroglyphs that could unlock secrets of forgotten dynasties, or perhaps even chambers guarding untold treasures and mystical artifacts. Some theories suggest it was designed as a giant puzzle intended to protect sacred knowledge from falling into the wrong hands. The mere thought that such an architectural marvel lies waiting to be rediscovered definitely ignites the imagination. Could the lost labyrinth be the key to unraveling mysteries that have eluded us for millennia? In our number 8 spot today, we have the Big Void in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Hidden within the towering limestone blocks of the Great Pyramid of Giza, there is a massive unexplored cavity known as the Big Void. Discovered in 2017 through the innovated use of muon radiography, a technique that detects particles from cosmic rays, the void sits mysteriously above the Grand Gallery. Its sheer size suggests it wasn't an accidental space or a simple architectural flaw. Could it be a secret chamber built to house untold treasures or sacred texts from a bygone era? Some speculate it might even be a concealed passageway designed to protect the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife. The lack of access points has kept this mystery sealed off from the world, fueling countless theories and a sense of wonder. As we stand on the brink of new technological breakthroughs, the possibility of uncovering what lies within the Big Void keeps the world eagerly watching Egypt's ancient sands. In our number 7 spot today, we have the hidden chambers of Tutankhamun's tomb. Nestled deep within the Valley of the Kings, Tutankhamun's tomb has dazzled the world ever since its discovery in 1922, but recent radar scans have reignited the excitement by hinting at hidden chambers adjacent to the young pharaoh's burial site. Some archaeologists speculate that these secret rooms could be the untouched resting place of Queen Nefertiti, one of ancient Egypt's most mysterious figures. The possibility of uncovering new treasures and untold stories has the archaeological community buzzing. Could these concealed chambers hold the key to mysteries that have puzzled historians for decades? As technology advances, the anticipation builds, and the sands of Egypt may yet reveal more of their timeless secrets. In our number 6 spot today, we have the tomb of Imhotep. Deep within the ancient sands of Saqqara lies one of Egypt's most captivating mysteries, the undiscovered tomb of Imhotep. Known as the brilliant architect who designed the Step Pyramid, the world's first colossal stone structure, Imhotep was so revered that he was deified after death, a rare honor bestowed upon few mortals. Yet, despite his monumental impact on history, his burial site has never been found. Archaeologists speculate that unearthing his tomb could reveal groundbreaking insights into Old Kingdom Egypt, possibly containing ancient scrolls detailing the origins of pyramid construction or medicinal texts that predate modern knowledge. knowledge. Some even whisper about hidden chambers filled with artifacts that could rewrite everything we know about ancient engineering. The quest to find his tomb isn't just about locating a lost grave, it's a race to uncover secrets that have been buried for over 4 millennia. In our number 5 spot today we have the lost tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Somewhere along the sun-soaked shores near Alexandria, or hidden beneath the ancient ruins of Osiris Magna, lies the elusive tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, cloaked in legend and intrigue. As Egypt's last pharaoh and her Roman lover, their dramatic love story ended in tragedy, and their final resting place has become one of history's most tantalizing mysteries. Archaeologists have been chasing whispers and deciphering clues from ancient texts, believing that uncovering this tomb could reveal artifacts of immense historical significance, perhaps even scrolls penned by Cleopatra herself. Some speculate the tomb could be an underground palace filled with treasures that surpass even those in King Tut's burial chamber. The very idea that beneath the shifting sands lies a sealed crypt holding the final secrets of these iconic lovers keeps the world watching Egypt with bated breath. Could the next spade of earth finally unveil the hidden chapter of this epic saga? In our number 4 spot today we have the tomb of Alexander the Great. Beneath the vibrant streets of modern Alexandria, whispers of a hidden tomb ignite the imaginations of archaeologists and treasure hunters. The lost resting place of Alexander the Great. After his death, it's said his body was brought back to Egypt, a land he admired and where he was proclaimed a pharaoh. Over centuries, the exact location of his tomb has been swallowed by time, earthquakes, and rising sea levels. Some speculate it could be concealed beneath ancient ruins or submerged under the harbor, waiting to unveil secrets of the Hellenistic era. Finding this tomb wouldn't just be an archaeological coup, it could potentially unearth artifacts or writings that reshape our understanding of history. The allure of unlocking such a monumental mystery keeps the world watching as each passing year holds the tantalizing possibility that Alexander's legendary tomb might finally be found. In our number 3 spot today we have the underground chambers beneath the Sphinx. Deep beneath the stoic visage of the Great Sphinx on the Giza plateau, tales of hidden chambers and secret tunnels abound. For centuries, locals and adventurers have whispered about what might lie beneath this ancient guardian of the pyramids. Geological surveys have revealed anomalies, unexplained voids and cavities that suggest the possibility of underground rooms or passageways. Some believe these spaces could house lost treasures or ancient texts detailing the mysteries of the pharaohs. Others speculate about connections to the mythical Hall of Records, a legendary repository of wisdom from a bygone era. The risk of damaging the Sphinx has kept these secrets locked away, as no confirmed entrances have been found to explore them. The allure of what might be concealed beneath these colossal paws continues to captivate the world. Could unlocking these chambers alter our understanding of history itself? In our number 2 spot today we have the burial chamber of Pharaoh Amenhotep I. Hidden somewhere within the winding corridors and secret chambers of the Valley of the Kings lies one of Egypt's most enduring mysteries, the lost burial chamber of Pharaoh Amenhotep I. Despite decades of tireless excavation and exploration, archaeologists have yet to uncover his final resting place. This pharaoh ruled during a transformative period of the 18th dynasty, and his untouched tomb could be a gold mine of ancient treasures and forgotten texts. Some believe it might contain scrolls that detail the earliest practices of mummification, or even maps to other undiscovered tombs. There's talk of hidden passageways sealed by elaborate traps designed to protect his legacy from tomb robbers of the past and the present. The allure of finding Amenhotep I's tomb isn't just about unearthing riches, it's about unlocking a pivotal chapter in Egyptian history that could redefine what we know about this ancient civilization. Could the next strike of the pickaxe finally reveal the secrets that have been buried for a millennia? And finally, in our number 1 spot today we have the unopened tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Deep within the sun-baked cliffs of the Valley of the Kings in Luxor, several mysterious tombs lie untouched, sealed since ancient times. Detected by modern technology like ground-penetrating radar, these hidden chambers remain inaccessible due to unstable rock formations and the challenges they pose. Some archaeologists speculate that these tombs could belong to lesser-known pharaohs or influential nobles whose names have been lost to history. Others whisper about the possibility of secret cults or even undiscovered dynasties concealed within. The allure is irresistible. What if these unopened tombs house untold treasures, sacred artifacts, or scrolls that could rewrite our understanding of Egyptian civilization? Each day, the desert sands shift slightly as if guarding these secrets a little longer. The anticipation builds. Could the next archaeological breakthrough finally unlock these silent chambers and the mysteries that they hold?
People in Egypt, they believed in what's called Kemet, the people that existed before the Egyptians. They were taught Kemet. And it's worth mentioning that when you go through inside these pyramids of Giza, these must have been for the pharaohs. That makes sense.
Ancient Egyptian tombs are full of ominous warnings. These are the top 10 terrifying ancient tombs cursed by evil pharaohs. One of the creepiest tombs you'll find in Egypt is the tomb of Amenhotep, located in the famous Valley of the Kings. Inside, there is a chilling inscription meant to keep anyone from messing with the tomb, a warning to anyone who dares to disturb the king's resting place. The inscription lays out some pretty terrifying consequences for anyone who tries to steal or disturb it. They'll lose all their earthly wealth, drown at sea, be burnt alive in a fiery furnace, and be cursed to die without any heirs or a proper burial. Not sure what losing all your money really matters if you're gonna drown and somehow die in a fire. But then again, the timeline of these events is an outline, so maybe you'll be poor for years before getting set on fire, then hopping into some water to try and put yourself out, only to suddenly remember that you can't swim. If that's not enough though, the inscription warns that your bones will rot away. Again, improper burial. This was a very big deal in ancient Egypt. The Sheki Abd el-Qurna is an ancient burial site in Thebes, now Luxor, known for its tombs and a decidedly eerie atmosphere. As a necropolis, it's filled with tombs, and a lot of them come with creepy warnings meant to scare off tomb raiders. One of these warnings is found on a stone slab that's now on display at the National Museum of Scotland. The inscription reads, "Watch out not to take a pebble from within it outside. If you find this stone, you shall not transgress against it. Indeed, the gods, since the time of Pre, those who rest in the mountains gain strength every day, even though their pebbles are dragged away." Basically, it's telling anyone who dares to touch or remove even a small little stone from the tomb that they'll anger both the gods and the spirits of the dead and face their wrath. So imagine what would happen if you took a whole mummy. My only question is, what happens if you get a rock in your shoe or something and you just leave without knowing? Does the curse count if you take something away accidentally? "As for all men who shall enter this, my tomb impure, I shall seize his neck like a bird." That's what's said on the mastaba of Katika Akeki. Mastabas are a type of tomb with a flat-roofed structure that were commonly used for burials. In Saqqara, there are over 160 of these tombs, many of which contain mummies. Not every tomb has spooky inscriptions, but some certainly do, messages that make it very clear what happens if you try to loot them. Archaeologists have found colorful hieroglyphics in some of these tombs, and according to a professor from the American University in Cairo, these warnings are serious. Anyone deemed impure who enters one of these tombs is condemned to a punishment from the gods. Part of the inscription on Ikaki's tomb, warning about the gods seizing your neck like a bird, is pretty cut and dry. Mess with the tomb, your life will suck and you'll probably die a brutal, painful death. Ankifi was an ancient Egyptian nomarch, which means he was a regional governor, and this was around 2100 BCE. He was also a military commander. He might not have been a full-on pharaoh, but he was still pretty important, and he wasn't about to leave his tomb unprotected. This guy, like many ancient Egyptians, took his afterlife very seriously, and he made sure anyone thinking of messing with his tomb would regret it. On the walls of his tomb, Ankifi left a pretty ominous warning. Basically says that if any ruler, or anyone, really disturbed his tomb, they'd be rejected by Heaven. a falcon god associated with the afterlife. Now, if this wasn't enough of a curse, he also declared that the heirs of anyone who tried to loot his tomb would lose their inheritance. So not only would you face the wrath of the gods, but your family would lose everything as well. Now, while this inscription might not have stopped modern-day archaeologists from digging up the tomb, it definitely worked on the ancient tomb robbers. The inscription seems to have done its job because there's no sign that anyone dared to loot Ankifi's tomb back in the day. The roof collapsed at one point and ended up being fixed in the 20th century, but the damage wasn't caused intentionally, and even then, most of the place is still intact. Harkuf was an ancient Egyptian explorer and governor of Upper Egypt during the 6th dynasty. He made sure to leave behind a pretty ominous warning for anyone who might try to disturb his peace in the afterlife. In his tomb, Harkuf left an inscription that mainly talks about his experiences and hopes for his journey into the afterlife, but then he adds a message for anyone daring enough to step into his tomb. The inscription reads, "As for any man who shall enter into this tomb, I will seize him like a wild fowl. He shall be judged by the great God." Now, at first, it might not sound like the scariest curse, but when you dig into ancient Egyptian beliefs, it's actually pretty terrifying, and the age of the pyramids being cursed by the great god was very serious. The great god, often associated with Osiris, the god of the afterlife, had the power to condemn a soul for eternity. So being judged negatively by him was pretty much the worst thing that could happen to anyone back then. The tomb of Ankhmahore in Saqqara, like many tombs in the area, is protected by a curse. And this curse is definitely one you don't want to mess with. The inscription in his tomb says, "As for that which anyone might do against this my tomb, the same will be done to his property. I am an excellent priest, knowledgeable in secret spells and all forms of magic, and as for anyone who enters my tomb impure or who does not purify themselves, I shall seize him like a goose and fill him with the fear at seeing ghosts upon the earth." I really like this one. Instead of the gods judging you, he'll be dealing with you himself, and he knows magic, which is pretty scary. He's a mummy wizard. Senmut was a high priest and the royal advisor to Queen Hatshepsut, one of Egypt's most powerful pharaohs. Some even speculate that they were more than just political partners, that they were also getting it on. While we can't say for sure what their relationship really was, Senmut was a pretty important guy. After he died, his tomb was built right next to the queen's, and even closer to her pharaoh's tomb. This was a big deal. It was a huge honor to be buried so close to royalty. It's led to some beliefs that Senmut's status may have had something to do with some behind-the-scenes politics, or maybe something a little more personal. When archaeologists uncovered his tomb, though, they found it in remarkable condition and also uncovered something a little less welcoming, a curse. The inscription on the tomb reads, "His lifetime shall not exist on earth." Not the fanciest curse, but it is blunt. It's quick and to the point. The tomb of Hezi is also located in Saqqara, one of Egypt's most famous burial sites, and it holds the remains of a nobleman from the Old Kingdom. Like many tombs, the hieroglyphic inscriptions on the walls start by telling the story of Hezi's life, and that's an interesting thing to mention. A lot of what we know about high-ranking members of ancient Egyptian society comes from the inscriptions on their tombs. We get to learn a lot about who they were, what they did, but anyway, on to the curse. After the usual biographical stuff, we get a warning which says, "As for anyone who will enter this tomb after he has eaten abominations, or after he has copulated with woman, I will be judged with him in the council of the great God." So this one's a little bit strange. Not only does it threaten those who disturb the tomb, but it also seems to involve Hezi himself in the judgment. Basically, if you've done anything deemed impure before entering, Hezi will be right there facing judgment alongside you. He's kind of playing to like your sympathy a little bit, you know, like don't mess with it. I don't want to get in trouble along with you. You don't want to mess with a curse that involves not just you, but also the guy resting there. I mean, that's not fair. Senmut I was a leader from Elephantine during Egypt's 12th dynasty, and it seems he was serious about protecting the offerings placed in his tomb. To make sure no one messed with the sacred gifts left for the gods, he left probably the most intense warning out of any on this list, saying that anyone thinking about taking anything from the tomb will have their arm cut off, neck twisted off like a bird, his office shall not exist, the position of his son shall not exist, his house shall not exist in Nubia, his tomb shall not exist in the necropolis, His God shall not accept his white bread. His flesh will belong to the fire. His children shall belong to the fire as well. His corpse shall not be to the ground. I shall be against him as a crocodile in the water, as a serpent on earth, and as an enemy in the necropolis. Just a very aggressive message. To put it simply, everything bad you can think of will happen to you if you mess with this tomb. From losing your arm and neck to your entire family line being wiped out, and not just in this life. Now, we couldn't do this list without talking about the most famous ancient Egyptian curse in existence, the so-called Curse of King Tut. The idea of cursed tombs became a well-known thing in the West after the 1922 opening of Tutankhamun's tomb by British archaeologist Howard Carter. It all started with the death of Lord Carnarvon, who funded the excavation. He died shortly after the tomb was opened, reportedly from an infected mosquito bite. But then all these rumors started to spread that it was because of King Tut, that his tomb was cursed, with the media sensationalizing the idea that anyone who disturbed the tomb would face dire consequences. A lot of the curse stories came from all these sensational reports, like one where a cobra symbolizing Egypt's royal power killed Carter's pet canary. People took this as a bad omen that the spirit of Tut was striking down intruders, but most of the curse claims have been debunked. Studies showed that Lord Carnarvon's death was caused by a bacterial infection, not any supernatural forces, and in fact only a small number of people associated with this tomb's discovery died young or under any unusual circumstances. Carter himself, who is a skeptic of the curse, lived another 17 years, dying of lymphoma in 1939. Most others, like Carnarvon's daughter, Lady Evelyn Herbert, lived long lives well into old age. But it's still a really fun idea and a fun urban legend and story.
Kicking off the list at number 10. EA6736. Ancient Egyptians worshipped lots of animals. At one point or another, you've heard about how cats were highly respected back then, but they also worshipped other animals as well. It's not just cats, okay? So if you're sitting there looking at Mr. Freckles or whatever, don't give him too much praise, okay? There's other worshipped animals to talk about, like baboons. Believe it or not, baboons. They were pretty important pieces to this ancient puzzle. Egyptians had tattoos of baboons, but the most famous piece of history that we have preserved is in the collections of the British Museum in London. There's a mummy on display, and it looks a little different than the rest. EA6736 was recovered from the Temple of Khans in Luxor, Egypt. This little man here dates back to the New Kingdom period, so anywhere around 1550 BC to 10 BC. So yeah, he's a little old. He looks great for his age though, I mean really. Baboons would appear all over art and religion in ancient Egypt. One of my favorite facts ever has to be that in ancient Egypt, pharaohs would train baboons to make arrests. Yeah, imagine stealing a pear for your family and then 4 baboons start chasing you, doing parkour, jumping over houses. It's crazy. Baboons are so smart, no wonder they worship them, honestly. Number 9. Ankhsenamun. This queen was ruling during the 18th dynasty of Egypt. The pharaoh Akhenaton, this was his daughter. She followed in her father's footsteps and was a great ruler, but she was also the wife and half-brother of one King Tut. Her and King Tut had the same father, but their mothers were different. After King Tut's death, however, it's believed this queen may have married the pharaoh shortly after. And perhaps she's buried near him currently in the Valley of the Monkeys. That's why we can't find her. Back in 2010, DNA testing was being done in tomb KB21, where 2 18th dynasty queens were recovered from that tomb in the Valley of the Kings, but not enough data was found from the mummies, but they do know the DNA is from the 18th dynasty royal bloodline, so getting closer. In another tomb though, KB63, numerous coffins were found. One had an imprint of a woman on it, along with jewelry, women's clothing, but the biggest clue really was pottery fragments. Of course. We've all played Assassin's Creed. The truth is in the scenery, my friends. The name Patan was on these pottery fragments, and the only person to ever use this name was the lost queen of Ankhesenamun. So we're getting close, but let's maybe, stop destroying other graves in the process. Let's try and find a nicer way to do it. Let's keep hers a secret maybe. Number 8, King Ramses VIII. Number 8, the 8th. You know what I'm doing. The last son of Ramses III, King Ramses VIII. He's the 7th pharaoh of the 20th dynasty. King Ramses VIII. Okay, history is confusing with these numbers sometimes, I tell ya. I had to proofread that sentence a few times when scripting this one up. This lost king had the throne for a very short amount of time, and historians are trying to understand why. He was the only pharaoh of the 20th dynasty whose tomb is still out there, somewhere in the Valley of the Kings, just waiting. The thing is, with his ruling being so short, the theory out there is that the tomb of KV19 that belonged to the son of Ramses IX, many believe this tomb was originally built for Ramses VIII, but once he became king, everybody was like, maybe not this guy, Yeah, you're not that guy, pal. Apparently you're not that guy. Apparently you weren't that guy. There is a confirmed tomb that was never used for Ramses VIII as well, tomb QV43 in the Valley of the Queens. Made for him, but never used. The poor souls who had to build these, my gosh. Number 7. Luxor tomb. We've been saying 2,500 years ago a lot, and don't get me wrong, that's an awful long time ago with all this ancient history. But in 2014, archaeologists discovered a 4,000-year-old tomb from the 11th dynasty. Yeah, it was tucked away in Luxor, Egypt all this time. Spanish archaeologists found a tomb belonging to a leader from the 11th dynasty. It's pretty obvious this was somebody from the royal family or somebody who was a high-ranking official, because at the time, Luxor was the capital city of ancient Egypt. Officials believe this tomb could have been used as a mass grave due to the, large amount of human remains found inside. That's a pretty jarring clue. It's important to note that this tomb had also been used during the 17th dynasty because tools and utensils from later on in that time were also found in this tomb. We're gonna find a spork in 5,000 years and be like, ah yes, ancient tools for Gogurt. Number 6, the animal tombs. This tomb was found, as you may have guessed, in the Valley of the Kings, like all the great ones here. But this one doesn't sound like the rest. For starters, it's a number rather than a name. What in the Elon Musk is happening here? Whose name was a number? What? Tomb KV50 and KV51 and this one as well all form a group referred to as the animal tombs. Underneath 6 feet of debris, the entrance to these tombs were found. So when we enter a tomb normally that's been untouched, ideally for thousands of years, we can find anything. In fact, whatever they do find, it's a win, I guess. It helps complete this age-long puzzle. So when officials opened KV52 and it was completely empty, that doesn't feel too nice. That's not very warming. It was empty except for 2 boxes, both black and undecorated. The larger of the 2 contained the remains of a monkey, and the smaller one was a chest and it had 4 compartments. Yeah, hauntingly bare compared to what else we have on this list coming up. Number 5. KV55. Okay, we covered KV50, 52, they're all one tomb, but they're not, they're separate tombs. What's going on here? This one was discovered right next to King Tut's tomb, and the reason we call this tomb by a number rather than a name is because, well, we don't know who it was made for, really. The classic, what happened, Even the walls of the tomb inside, they're empty. They aren't covered with any hieroglyphs, there's no artwork, there isn't any clothing laying around, no jewelry. It's quite odd, it's just simply bare. As you walk down the 20 steps towards KV55, you'll notice only a few markings on the entrance. Markings that show that the entrance was once widened since it was first cut, along with its ceiling being raised slightly higher. So adjustments were made at some point. This wasn't a forgotten project by any means. The only hint as to who or what is buried here is remains on the walls. One hieroglyph was found in 1907. One hieroglyph, that's it. And it translates to, "The evil one shall not live again." Okay, so we should leave this alone, right? Yeah, you agree? Hit that thumbs up if you agree. I feel like we agree. Number 4. Ankhmahore curse. The walls of some of these tombs have warnings from the gods. One warning trespassers that the gods will wring their neck like that of a goose. That's a pretty good warning. I don't know. If I walked into somebody's property now and it said trespassers' necks will be wrung out like a goose, I'd turn around. You got me. You don't need a beware of dog sign. We're all set with that. You don't need to be an ancient god to get that message across. Just don't break into people's stuff. Don't steal stuff. Inside the found tomb of Ankhmahore, a pharaoh official from 4,000 years ago, a curse was written on the walls. It was buried in mastaba. It was an above ground massive tomb, and this warning was the first thing you saw. Might do against this, my tomb, the same shall be done to your property. It also warns of Ankhmahore's knowledge of secret spells and magic, and it threatens to fill impure intruders with a fear of seeing ghosts. Again, there's that or beware of dog. You can pick which one you want to put in front of your building. What's more impactful for your property? You decide. Number 3, 2020 tombs. 2020, okay, while most of the world was stuck inside watching documentaries, more than 100 sealed coffins were found. And yes, this time they were occupied. Gross. Found, of course, in Saqqara, Egypt, Egyptian archaeologists have never been more excited, which is a weird thing to say after what I just said. Maybe we'll find the body of Cleopatra. Wouldn't that just be dandy, I guess? The fact that we found over 100 of these still in great shape is mind-blowing. It's actually pretty awesome. Grave robbers have been around since ancient Egyptian days, and for all these to be untouched for this long, that's good. This is great. I'm glad we found it instead of, pirates. The findings date back to 712 BC, which was a period where Egypt was controlled by foreign civilizations, like Persians or Greeks. The idea that we're finding mummies is great and all, but again, do we really need to open them up? Do we need to find Alexander the Great this badly? Like, what is he? It's gonna be bones. It's gonna be goop. Like, we're willing to disrespect this many souls in the process. It's kind of ironic. I don't know. Number 2, Black Tomb. We found a mysterious black granite tomb in Alexandria back in 2018. I remember this trending because I made several Brendan Fraser jokes on Twitter. Yeah, a lot of mummy talk happening that weekend. Things got real when the cousin of Antiquities minister opened it up. Yeah, we just opened up a mysterious black granite tomb just because we're curious cats. When archaeologists found this massive untouched tomb, untouched for over 2,000 years, might I add. On one hand, that's a feat in itself, historical, great, discovery, awesome. But us humans, we have to just open it up and take a peek and just smell smell whatever's inside. Let's just do that, I guess. Maybe it's Alexander the Great, who knows? Egyptian news outlet El Watan reported that the tomb was lifted only a few centimeters before every official involved at the construction site fled the scene. They straight up ran away, it smelled that bad. Mustafa Waziri, Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, the guy put his entire head in the tomb to make sure that it's safe. I mean, or you could just do this with your hand. That works. Why your head? Like, just do one of these. I mean, I get it. The guy's OG. Nothing ended up happening, I think. I don't know. Number 1. King Tut. One of the greatest mysteries is of course the history of the young King Tut. Really young. Younger than you might think. The young boy became pharaoh at age 9 in 1332 BC. During his time ruling, the young king had to face a country in conflict. It wasn't exactly a chill time. At this point, Egypt and Nubia were going head to head over land, and not even 10 years into ruling, the young pharaoh died at age 18. It wasn't until 1922 until he was seen again. Howard Carter discovered the tomb of the lost king, appropriately, as you would have guessed, in the Valley of the Kings. This is where we could have been more careful, historically. When King Tut was discovered, they tried to move his body out of the oil that was coating the coffin after this long. But in doing so, they damaged him. They were too rough. They were too excited with this, old ass dude. So now it's next to impossible to tell what really took his life at such an early age. Yeah, we kind of blew it. We have some ideas though. It's not entirely hopeless. It's believed that King Tut had a broken leg. After some 3D scans were done, it appears the king may have not been in the best shape prior. He may have fallen off a chariot and then simply just cracked his leg, and that's how he died. So if Tut passed at an early age out of nowhere, who was that tomb he was buried in really meant for? Some suggest the tomb was built for the lost queen, Queen Nefertiti, but again, still trying to figure this one out because we haven't found her yet. The former antiquities minister doesn't believe this at all. He strongly stands by his belief that the lost queen was one of the female mummies found in the Valley of the Kings. Tut passed away at 19, so many believe his own burial chamber wasn't even done being built yet, so they just threw him in hers. How rude is that? History is pretty rude. I don't know. If I can sum up history, I'd say it's rude. Yeah, that's a fair word. We still haven't found her final resting place, but with the aid of technology and 3D scans, I have a feeling we're getting pretty close.